Hey guys, I just want to bring up an opportunity for resource investors. If you want to rub elbows with the big wigs and talk to companies directly that are handpicked by Rick Rule, well, you got to be in Boca Raton from July 7th to 11th for the Rick Rule Symposium. The event has become a premier event in the mining space, and they're going to have some pretty big speakers like Robert Friedland, Sean Rusin, and the great Rick Rule. And also, we're going to be there. You can meet the Deep Dive team in person. So if you're interested in rubbing elbow with some of the biggest heavy hitters in junior mining, check out the link below. Good afternoon, everyone. Today I'm chatting with Alberto Morales from Andean Precious Metals. In this interview, we discuss what's happening with precious metals companies and how quickly the current rise in prices of silver and gold could be reflected on the financial statements of silver and gold producers. And we discuss Andean Precious Metals. Alberto gives us some color on the company's first quarter financial statements for 2024. And we get into the economics of the company's two projects, as well as what investors can expect out of 2024. All right, everybody, enjoy the interview. Alberto, thanks so much for joining us today.
Pleasure, Steve. Nice to be here with you.
So, I'd like to start off by talking about the silver market. We've recently interviewed a few silver companies, and I have to say the management teams are very upbeat and excited. They're starting to see a little bit of capital start to flow in, as some of them have told me that the difference between $30 silver and $20 silver is gigantic for their operations. So I'm curious what your thoughts right now are on the silver market, and I guess we could say the gold market as well. Where do you think it could be heading? Do you think that we'd be happy if it just consolidated here? Do you think that there's room for it to run? What's your read on the market?
Well, it's a pretty interesting market these days. I mean, we've seen a run on silver literally up in the 40 to 50% from $22 all the way up to $32 in the last 60 days. So it's been quite a nice run, but in a short period of time. Usually, when you see a run this fast, there is always some profit taking, and there is always some people that likes to get some chips out of the table. So it happened a little bit, like about a week, in the past week or so. It reached 32, past 32, then it went down a little bit, not too much, but it went down like about $1 and change, $1.50, and now it's picking up. It's on the high 31.80, something like that. I think there's going to be some profit taking going forward. It will depend, but definitely it looks like the momentum is there for even a further run. But the fundamentals are there, but we'll have to see how the market reacts.
So you guys are a precious metals company, and I'm curious here from your view, how long does it take for this price appreciation in, say, silver or gold to actually show up on the financial statements or the balance sheet of the companies?
Well, it's almost immediately. When you're a producer and you're constantly selling your weekly production. We would love to be able to produce as much as we can to take advantage of these prices. So literally speaking, I mean, if you look at this price run started about, as I said, 60 days ago, more, give or take a few days. So it really started mostly on Q2. It began slowly in Q1 of this year, but you can probably expect when we report Q2 to see all of our peers in the sector reporting how much we're basically realizing out of these prices.
So Alberto, it's the first time we've had you on. What's the 2-minute elevator pitch for Andean Precious Metals?
Well, I basically would like to summarize this. Andean basically is a company that can be defined in 3 words: pursuing transformational growth. We have a very strong balance sheet. We just doubled the size of our company at the end of last year. We still hold a significant, strong balance sheet. We're looking for organic growth as well as transformational growth through acquisitions. So we are right now, roughly, we have given guidance that on an equivalent silver ounces basis, we're probably going to be around 10.5 million ounces of silver equivalent this year. And if you want to give or take that into gold equivalent, it'll probably be about 115,000 gold equivalent ounces. We're roughly about 50-50 gold and silver production right now.
So you guys are producing right now?
Correct.
And what does that production look like in recent quarters?
Well, it's our production, since we just bought the Golden Queen mine in California, and we closed it in November, late November of last year. We gave guidance that for this year, we will be producing roughly not less than 60,000 ounces of gold in the case of Golden Queen, and 5.5 million ounces of silver in the case of San Bartolomé down in Bolivia. That's our guidance on the production. Usually our production is historically been back-ended into the last quarters of the year because of the weather and because of the holidays. The first quarter in Bolivia starts soft, and then it begins to pick up in the rest of the year. But roughly that's the guidance that we gave to the market.
So in Bolivia, you guys transitioned to strictly processing. Can you maybe walk us through what the economics look like for that?
Sure. If you give me a second, I'll first like to explain to you where do we come from so that it'll be easier to explain where we're headed. Andean was born out of an acquisition that was done privately by myself and a few other investors in Bolivia back in the end of 2017, early 2018. It was the San Bartolomé Manquiri mine located in Potosí. Roughly at the time, the company had only about an 8-month life of mine. So my predecessor almost exhausted all of the reserves. So while there is some difficulties in that business model, I saw a transformational opportunity to turn this asset around and convert it into literally what I call a cash spread business model. This is basically a model whereby you buy ore, and to be clear, we buy it and not toll it, meaning that we take ownership of the metal that we buy, we process it, and then place it into the market. What that means is that we have a revolver window. Basically, every time that we buy, we place it into our plant, we process it, and then we sell it. Roughly that takes about a 60 to 75 day cycle, and we do it constantly. And it is that cash spread. We go after a cash spread, literally between our purchase price, our processing cost, and then the spot market. So if the prices goes up, we pay a little bit more, and if the prices go less, we pay a little bit less. This is why our business model and our guidance given to the market change by talking about a gross operating margin as opposed to a literally just an all-in sustaining cost or all-in cash, because which we also look at those metrics. But mostly when you're a processing facility like what we are in San Bartolomé, we buy the ore, process it, and sell it. So we go for the cash spread. It is a cash spread model primarily. That transition happened at 100% base at the end of last year, basically, because we were still exhausting some additional reserves that the government authorizes and gave us mining rights to process back a few years back. But we basically exhausted those reserves, and now we're 100% processing facility, as you mentioned.
So how do you manage to keep feedstock coming in? Is there any problem with being able to source feedstock?
Well, that's a good question. But as I said earlier, literally when we bought this company, it only had an 8-month life of mine based on its own reserves. We've been operating for 6 years now, and we just gave an MRNRE report that basically says that just with the ores that we just purchased, we have another 4.6 years more to go. and we're still exploring other deposits. Bolivia, it's literally elephant country on a geological basis. There's so much deposits that are unexplored, and we have the largest, most efficient oxides plant. So it's a pretty straightforward business model. We're looking into it. People thought that the company wouldn't survive when it was going to be liquidated, when it didn't have any life of mine. But we're here. We've been here 6 years. We have resources and reserves for another 4 more years, and we're still looking to grow them. I think there is a lot of potential in Bolivia to still find room for more growth.
So you guys also have an operation in California, which is not known to be the most, I guess we could say, mining-friendly state. What can you tell us about what it's like to operate in California? What can you tell us about your operations there?
So far, it's been really good. I mean, our asset when we bought it, it's totally and completely fully permitted, and because of that, we haven't had any problems on the permitting side. I know that to start from scratch, it'll be a longer process for new incumbents that wants to go and explore and get permitting on that state. But for us, it's been good. We're looking into a lot of the synergies that we're now trying to execute on, efficiencies and synergies, mostly in the drilling and the blasting, in the ore control, in recoveries under the Merrill-Crowe. It is a heap leach process. So we're excited about the way the companies and the process are going and the efficiencies that we're trying to achieve. And we're looking forward to basically tell the market, and as we start reporting how we go along that production in that facility, it's doing well.
Earlier this month, you guys announced your first quarter financial results. What are the highlights that we should talk about?
In general terms, we basically, I could tell on a very rough basis, the most important thing, we're not burning cash. Our company has been basically building cash for every single year that we've operated since we bought the asset in San Bartolomé. Our company has been successfully generating cash. So we intend to continue with that trend. We intend to continue going forward, trying to create more efficiencies that would be more accretive, taking advantage of these prices.
So specifically and this is just sort of an issue with how things tend to work in Canada. When we look at a lot of share structure, there's people that are involved with companies that are just looking to just flip their shares as quickly as possible. So, I'm not suggesting that you guys have done this. This is for our audience that is doing their due diligence. But you look at some of these companies where like 20% of the shares have been issued at like less than a penny, and that's obviously, if you're buying open market, there's a lot of buying that has to go into a stock in order to overcome that. Sometimes there's shareholders that aren't necessarily known to be that friendly to a deal, especially here in Canada, where I'd argue that most of the hedge funds that we have here can be a little bit vicious towards the companies that they invest in. So effectively what I'm asking you is, if I were to buy shares as a potential investor, how can I feel comfortable in the makeup of the shareholder base and the prices that have previously been raised at? So
basically, as I mentioned, this company started out by an asset that I personally acquired. Therefore, when we went public, we already had significant cash in the checkbook. So we went public to start floating our stock. We did a raise when we went public, but literally speaking, we don't need to do more equity raises, and we don't need to dilute our shareholders because we have a very strong balance sheet. We have significant amount of cash and cash positions and cash equivalent and in marketable securities in our balance sheet. We have more than $100 million in liquid assets combined. So there is no need. In fact, we are now buying back our own stock. We've I believe that we have bought back more than 10 million shares so far because we feel that that is a good use of our cash based at current prices. And where this market is headed, we believe that that buying back some shares is good to give more value to the shareholders in general. So, and mostly our capital structure, it's we, the insiders, basically have a significant portion of it. I would say more than 50% of the company is owned by insiders. And therefore, we're basically very conscious that since this is a significant portion of our own asset worth, we are very conscious about the value of our stock and about returning value to the shareholders because we're heavily invested there. And I think any investor should see that as an insurance. We're not going to do anything foolish because we're not a company where insiders own less than 5%, and they couldn't care less what their situation is. We, the insiders, own more than 50% of it. And we're comfortable with the company, and we're very comfortable with the prospects and businesses that we've got going forward.
All right. So if I'm an investor or a potential investor and I'm watching the company in 2024, what am I looking out for in terms of timelines, potential milestones, that sort of stuff?
Well, if you look at the guidance we've given to the markets in connection with basically our all-in cost in connection for Golden Queen, and certainly if you look at the spot prices and you basically average this out by the guidance that we've given with what we expect production to be, and in the case of you do exactly the same analysis, and there are out there various editorials that have basically based on just the guidance that we've given, the earnings per share is going to be at this price level significant, and therefore see the company as a strong, with a strong balance sheet and a strong potential.
All right. Well, Alberto, thanks very much for hopping on here. I think the companies like yours that are producing silver, given the recent run, are very exciting for investors. And it's an area that I feel that a lot of our audience is starting to kick tires on. So we really appreciate you taking the time to hop on here. And as there's more developments in the future, hopefully you'll hop back on here and give us some insights into those. Because I think that the companies that are producing silver today are very exciting. And I know our audience feels that. So thanks very much for hopping on here today.
Pleasure. Anytime. I'll be happy.
All right, everybody. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this interview, please smash that like button, subscribe, and ring that notification bell. Also, let me know what you think in the comment section. Thanks, everyone.